Obama's election is often referred to as historic. He's obviously the first African-American president. How has his election affected the mood of the country?
You know, Barack Obama was elected primarily because he wasn't George Bush or John McCain. He had the wisdom. Neither McCain nor Obama really knew what to say in the wake of the financial collapse in mid-September of 2008. John McCain spoke about it every day and made it clear he didn't know what was going on, whereas Barack Obama was quieter, and then he came out and started talking about tax cuts for 95% of Americans. The way we make a mistake in this country when we assume that elections give you a mandate. You get a mandate by governing people and having your governing actions reinforced by a bigger mandate. Barack Obama is presiding over a polarized partisan nation in a sense, just the way George Bush did, and it's really not something new with him. In 1992, Bill Clinton was elected with a majority of his party in control of Congress. He lost that control during his term in office. George Bush did the same thing in 2000, lost control of Congress during his term. Never happened before in the history of our nation in back-to-back administrations. That's a rejection of both political parties. In
your opinion, and based on the polls you've seen, what are Obama's chances for re-election?
You know, that's almost I don't want to say it's a silly question, but it really is impossible to know at this point in time. Why? Because we're going to have midterm elections this November, and then the president will respond to them. If you had asked the same question about Bill Clinton in 1994, you would have said his prospects were very bleak. He responded well and won re-election 2 years later. So we don't know what the president will do. He has time to turn this around. What we do know is that the American public is not happy with the course of events right now.
What do you attribute to Obama's significant slide in popularity over the past year?
Simply put, he first of all forgot about cutting taxes. He did promise to cut taxes for 95% of Americans. Only 6% now believe their taxes will be cut during his administration. Nearly half think their taxes will go up. And that's more than just a dollar and cents issue. That was sort of a commitment by the president to say he was not going to be a big spending Democrat. Second thing, the president, and some of it's just being in the wrong place at the wrong time. The economy has been going down. He continued the policies of the bailouts. The General Motors takeover was troublesome to the American people, and it all got caught up in the health care debate. And in that health care debate, all the frustration of the American people came out, and that's the reason the legislation working its way through Congress was so unpopular.
How has the Tea Party movement affected the mood of the country, and will this continue?
The Tea Party movement's a fascinating phenomenon because it is one of the true leaderless movements in the country, and that's probably a healthy thing for it at this point in time. It means different things to different people, but to a large degree it is just an expression of frustration, and they're looking for someone who can invite the American people back into the policy debate. For this year's election, it's bad news for Democrats. But if the Republicans were to win control of the House or Senate, it could be bad news for them the next time around because, again, the policy choices that are being discussed in Washington are not inviting the people into the discussion, and they are not being, I guess, even respectful of the general public.
Toward the end of the book, you provide 6 specific examples of restraining big government and restoring self-governance. Can you discuss some of the key provisions in those?
First of all, I want to put that in perspective. You know, I listed some things that can be done and that would help, but it's not a 12-step recovery program that you do these things and all of a sudden self-governance is here. The problem is much deeper than that, and what we really need to have is convey this idea of self-governance and be promoting it and having people look for opportunities to reassert that principle throughout governance, throughout the political atmosphere. But in terms of some specific ideas, one very simple. Individuals should know the cost of what they're buying. So what we have is an idea for a Taxpayer Disclosure Act. Simply, you get your tax refund and you get a statement that says, by the way, here's how much you earned last year and here's the total tax bill. Federal, state, local, here's our estimate of what you paid in sales taxes. We know from polling that people tend to underestimate how much they pay by about 35%. And if people understood the cost of the government that they're paying for, well, that might have an impact. And even if it doesn't have an impact, people should know. Second thing was to let members of Congress vote from their home district. It'd be fascinating to see how somebody might vote after meeting with their constituents instead of meeting with their buddies in Washington.
Scott, thanks again for sitting down and discussing your new book, In Search of Self-Governance. I strongly encourage our viewers to go out and read this insightful book.
Thank you.